I'm glad you made it to today's episode where I will expose you to key areas you need to focus on to smash good grades in your exam. This can also be modeled for other core subjects. The bitter truth is you mustn't study all the courses, all the topics, given the short time frame left. All you just have to do is to study smart. This is not in a bid to encourage laziness. All I'm just trying to drive home is the fact that you can cover as many key topics as possible and still come out with good grades. All right. There are some key areas you can't just escape from insofar as you're sitting for the WAEC exam. This exam is divided into two sessions. We have paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 1, which is the objective parts or the multiple choice question, as the case may be, and paper 2, which is the theory session. Now let's talk about paper 1. Paper 1 is made up of 50 objective questions, of which you are required to answer within a maximum time frame of 1 hour 30 minutes or 90 minutes, or if you convert it to seconds, we have 5,400 seconds. Right, these questions cut across every aspect of the provided syllabus. Now, to have an A in this exam is very easy, and I'm going to show you the idiotic steps. Yes, I call it the idiotic steps you have to follow. Just follow them and I guarantee you success. Okay, the first step, which is the fact that failure starts the moment you study without a guide. Okay, WAEC has provided you with a study guide that's cut across all the two sections. Okay, what are you expected to do at this point? The answer is you just have to follow the syllabus. Okay, like a fool. Yes, you heard me right. Follow the syllabus like a fool. Stop where they asked you to stop, and then study the areas they asked you to study as though your life depends on it. Okay, now the topics, content, and notes provided in the detailed syllabus were given with the intentions of narrowing down your scope, okay, to the required areas from where the questions will be set. So for paper 1, you have a total of 50 questions to contend for. Okay, so let me break this down a bit. Once you've studied with your guide, that is, once step 1 has been taken care of, okay, the truth still remains that there is every tendency you might not have the strength to cover all the areas. You might not have the strength in all the areas, so you would have to approach the questions based on the SWOT analysis. S stands for the strength, stands for your strength. W stands for weakness. Okay, O stands for opportunities, while T stands for threat. Now we are going to focus our analysis on the strength and the weakness part of the SWOT analysis. Right, every individual is peculiar in strengths and weaknesses. Right, my strength is different from yours, so are my weaknesses. Now the first thing you have to do is to itemize your strengths and weaknesses and then solve the questions based on them. Okay, now you are not under any obligation to start solving the questions in order of which they were set. Okay, so take about 2 minutes to scan through the 50 questions and start answering them based on your strength. The idea is any question you can't solve at a glance, or probably after looking at it for, like, let's say 10 to 15 seconds, should be left for simpler ones. Yes, that is the trick. Okay, if you look at a particular question for about 10 seconds and you can't lay your hands on the solution, the best thing you have to do is to skip that question and go to a simpler one. This is so that you can have enough time for more difficult ones. Is that okay? Now, once you've done that, for paper 1, focus on the following areas. Focus on the following areas I'm going to itemize now. The first one is number and numeration. That's the first area you have to focus on. The second one is algebraic processes. Everything under algebraic processes you have to note. Okay, mensuration, we have plane and solid mensuration. You have to take note of that area also. you can also take note of geometry. Yeah, questions come under geometry well, like especially the plane geometry. Okay, now after that you have to take note of trigonometry. That is very, very important too. Your sine, cosine, and then tangent. Okay, now you have to take note of the special angles. We have 30 degrees, 60 degrees, 45 degrees, so that without wasting much time pressing your calculator, you can always provide answers to them. Right, you have to take note of statistics and probability as well. Now the following subtopics should be zoomed on. Out of these topics I've already mentioned, okay, now you have to focus on some key subtopic areas or subtopics. All right, the first one is number basis and real number system. Remember, I told you that you have to take note of numbers and numeration. Okay, so under that, you take note of the number basis and the real number system. Expect an average of 10 questions from these parts. Yeah, an average of 10 questions. I've done my analysis and I realized that at an average, about 10 questions come under this subtopic. Okay, now take note of fractions, decimals, and approximations. Expect about 5 questions under this. Yeah, about 5 questions maximum. Okay, 3 to 5 questions, or maximum of 5 questions. Okay, now looking at indices, logarithm, and sort, expect about 5 questions under this also. Okay, now if you look at the analysis I've been making, I told you some areas you have to focus on. Based on the focus, you have to zoom into some other areas and itemizing some likely number of questions you have to meet or you might meet in your exam. Okay, now see, series and sequence. This is a very simple aspect of mathematics, of which you have to expect about 2 to 3 questions. Okay, now we have set theory as well. Expect 2 to 3 questions also under set theory. Now we have a particular topic that it's not that frequent, but you should take note of that, which is the matrix and determinant. Expect 2 to 3 questions under that, if at all it comes out. Okay, now we have another topic, which is the ratio, percentages, and rates and proportions. Expect 3 to 5 questions under that. In fact, at most 3 to 5 questions. Okay, now you have to expect about 2 to 3 questions also under variations. We have 4 basic forms of variations. We have direct, indirect, we have partial and joint. Expect 2 to 3 questions under these 4 areas. Okay, now algebra, especially the method of algebraic processes, expect about 5 questions under that. Okay, expect about 5 questions. Now under inequalities, you can see maximum of 2 to 3 questions also, about 2 to 3 questions. Okay, now all these are based on my analysis I've made over the years. Okay, now we have plane and solid mensuration. Expect about 5 questions. Yeah, about 5 questions, but you have to focus on lengths, perimeters, areas of plane and solid shapes. You have to focus on those areas. Now for angles, triangles, polygons, and circles, you really don't have much questions coming under that, so you should just expect at an average 5 questions. Okay, at an average 5 questions. It might be more, it might be less, but at an average 5 questions under that. Now for coordinates, geometry, especially distance between 2 points, we have gradients, we have midpoints, and so on and so forth. But just these key areas I mentioned, you have to expect about 2 to 3 questions. Okay, about 2 to 3 questions. Yes. What of trigonometric functions and relations? This should give you about 3 questions. About 3 questions, 2 to 3 questions also as well. Okay. Now under angles of elevations and depressions, and then bearing, just study it very well because it will help you in the second paper. But for this section, for this paper 1, expect about 2 to 3 questions on that. Now, statistics and probability is a very key area in mathematics for all the sections, both paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 2, section A, and paper 2, section B. Statistics and probability is a very key area that you don't have to joke with. Okay, so for statistics and probability under the first paper, that's paper 1, you have to expect about 5 questions. Is that okay? Now that is for the paper 1 for now. So let's keep over to paper 2 before coming back to make analysis on paper 1. So for paper 2, remember I said that this is the theoretical part, which is further divided into 2 sections. Now, how many marks are we expected here? You're expected to contend for 100 marks, which cuts across both sections, that is section A and section B. Okay, now how many minutes or how many hours do you have for this part? You have about 2 hours 30 minutes, but smart students don't work with 2 hours 30 minutes because that's the maximum time allocated for that. So you should be targeting about 2 hours. Okay, now for the 2 hours 30 minutes allocated for this particular paper, which of course has 2 sections, we have about 150 minutes, and if you convert it to seconds, you realize that you have about 9,000 seconds. Now section A, okay, has about 5, in fact has 5 compulsory questions, very compulsory questions, though elementary in nature, and from statistics expect the questions from plane and solid mensuration. You should also expect from plane and solid geometry. We have trigonometries, questions under indices, logarithm, and sorts come out as well, especially expressions with the use of trigonometric tables. All right. Now, statistics. Remember, I told you you should focus on statistics very, very well. Statistics, just zoom in the more in-depth part of statistics. Okay, you can focus on the interpretation of statistical charts, mean, median, modes of discrete and group data. Okay, focus on those aspects also. For set theory, this is very important because this is where you get to make use of the Venn diagram, right? So you have to focus on 2 and 3 sets problems, basically 2 set problems. But just make sure you understand the 2 and 3 sets problems very well, because you never can tell. You don't know which question might come out in your exam. Okay, now algebraic processes is what you also would like to focus on. Okay, now everything under algebraic processes must be learned. The methods of algebraic processes, simultaneous equations, and the rest. Just take note of those ones very well. And most importantly, the shorter methods of getting your way around the question. Is that okay? All right, so you need probability and statistics is very, very important. Okay, we've already talked about statistics. So talking about probability, especially problems involving mutually exclusive and independent events with or without replacements. This is one area that students find sometimes difficult, especially when it comes to with replacement. Okay, with and without replacements actually. So focus on that aspect. Right now, for this section, remember we are talking about section A. Right now, the total marks obtainable from this section actually is 40. Okay, 40 marks. So since they are elementary in nature, if you prepare very well, the knowledge can be shared for both paper 1 and paper 2 section A. Okay, because you see that most of these topics reoccur in both papers. Right, so you can see how easy it is to break down the bogus syllabus into chunks for easy assimilation. Now that is for section A for the most part. Let's talk about section B. This is where most students find more difficult, because just like others, it is very much easier if only you break it down into smaller slices. But the fact still remains that it has more questions. This is where you see let's say question 8, having children and grandchildren like A, B, C, C, I, and so on and so forth. Very bogus questions, but they are very, very easy if you can follow the syllabus and follow it bit by bit. Okay, this section comprises 8 questions, of which you'll be required to answer any 5, carrying 12 marks each. Okay, which if you sum them up, you're going to have 60 marks. Right, research shows that some major areas to be covered in this section are, we have construction. Take note of that, it is very, very important. Construction, we have statistics, especially measures of dispersion, that is the cumulative frequency curve, range, semi-interquartile, variance, standard deviation, mean deviation of group data, and so on and so forth. Just zoom on these areas I've mentioned. Okay, calculus is also required, especially your knowledge of differentiation and integration. If you are also good at your standard integrals and differentials, it will also help you in this area. Okay, you have to take note of your financial mathematics, such as the simple interest, compound interest, and so on and so forth. Just zoom on these areas also for the financial mathematics. Also, we should take note of the trigonometry, making your focus on bearing and distances. Okay, now graphs is very key. Graph is very key, very important. Okay, you'll be required to draw graph, of which most times it could be a linear and quadratic graph. You might be just lucky to be given a quadratic graph just like that. Okay, but most times it comes with both linear and quadratic graphs. Sometimes inequality graphs are also required. Okay, that's why you have to cover everything under graphs for a better edge. Is that okay? Now, mensuration and geometry is also key. Mensuration and geometry. One thing you will notice is that the topics kept repeating themselves. Okay, the only difference is that the scope differs with sections. Is that okay? So the summation of sections A and B gives a total of 100 marks. 100 marks. Question A giving 40, section A rather giving 40 marks, while section B giving a total of 100 marks. Is that okay? So therefore, if we sum up for paper 1 and paper 2, the marks obtainable is 150. You have 150 marks obtainable. Okay, now how does WAEC grade this? Now, of course, the maximum score for the grading system is 100%. Let me just make some analysis here. Okay, the maximum score is you have 100%. Okay, while to attain the exact score, okay, the exact score of a particular, let's say, candidate, okay, we have to use this formula, which is the marks obtained from both sections, from both papers, okay, papers 1 and 2, all over the total marks obtainable, okay, times 100%. And remember, I told you that the total marks obtainable is 150. So this is 150. Okay, while if you sum up the marks obtained from papers 1 and papers 2, okay, divided by 150, you will and then multiply by 100%, you're going to get the exact score of the student. Is that okay? You're going to get the exact score of the student. Of course, the marks obtained from papers 1 and 2 is peculiar to individual students. Now, let us take, for instance, a candidate having the following breakdown scores. For paper 1, this candidate had 37 over 50, which is a very good score. Okay, it's good actually. Now, for paper 2, sections, we have two sections, section A and section B. So for section A, this candidate had 28 over 40, 28 all over 40, while for section B, this same candidate had 48 all over 60. Okay, now if you sum everything up, we have 37 plus 28 plus 48. You're going to have a total of 113 marks. Okay, 113. So these candidates for both papers had 113 out of 150 marks. Now, how do we compute the total score for this candidate? We're just going to say, based on this formula we have over here, we're going to say 113 all over 150 times 100%. And if you do this, you get a score which is 75.333%. Okay, now approximately, if you round these up, you have 75%. So these students actually got 75%, and based on the grading system, this is an A for the student. Now, what is the grading system? The grading system is made up of, we have A1, we have B2, we have B3, we have C4, we have C5, C6, we also have D7, E8, and then the last is F9. Okay, now for A1, the candidate is expected to have 75% and above. Okay, 75% and above to attain A1. Okay, now for B2, it is 70 to 74. So if this student has 70 to 74, it's going to fall under B2. Okay, while for B3, it is 65 to 69. For C4, it is 60 to 64. For C5, it is 55 to 59. For C6, it is 50 to 54. For D7, we have 45 to 49. For E8, the candidate score would fall within the range of 40 to 44. And then F9 is 0 to 39. Of course, as a very studious student, you shouldn't fall under this category. Under no circumstance should you fall under this category. Is that okay? Do not fall under that category. And then for an average student, we have C, which is a credit. Okay, while for a good student, we have A and B, which is a distinction. Is that okay? Now, this is how to compute the scores for a particular candidate. So you just have to grade yourself based on your strengths and your weaknesses, and then boom, you should know the category you fall under. Now, because of time, I won't be able to delve deeper into what other aspect is, but I've already shown you a glimpse of what you expected to cover, as well as the likely grading system that you will be subjected to. Is that okay? And just before I end for today's class, let's just take some minutes to discuss one or two questions so that we can have a clue of what we are saying. Now, this is a WAEC question, section A at question 2. This is for the year 2020. Okay, now I just picked a random question, okay, from just this year, of which, if you take analysis, you realize that everything I've said falls under this. This is a question we are required to make Q the subject of the formula. This falls under the numeration systems. Okay, that's under the numeration system, and then you are to make Q the subject of the formula, and you're as well asked to find the value of Q when you're given some parameters. Okay, let us just see how we can compute this very fast before we go over to the second question. I think I have two questions for you today. Okay, now we have this question P. So P is equal to RK all over Q minus MS raised to the power of 2 over 3. I guess that's what we have. Yeah. Now, our focus is to make sure that Q is made the subject of the formula. Of course, you can't do anything to this question until you have to eliminate this. And the best way to eliminate it is to multiply this by 3 over 2 so as to make this raised to the power of 1. And then you do the same for the left hand side. So you raise P to the power of 3 over 2 and then multiply the power of the right hand side to by 3 over 2 as well. This is what I am trying to say. So we have P raised to the power 3 over 2 is equal to RK over Q minus MS raised to the power of 2 over 3 multiplied by 3 over 2. All right, so this is what we have. And if you do this, you realize that this is going to cancel out. So we are left with 1 as the power of this of the right hand side. Okay, and then the left hand side is still left as p raised to the power of 3 over 2. Okay, now this is equal to rk all over q minus ms. Remember, our focus is to make q the subject of the formula, and if we want to do that, we have to add ms to both sides so as to cancel the effect of ms on the right hand side. All right, so if we do that, we have p 3 over 2. This is plus ms, which is equal to rk over q minus ms, then plus ms. Of course, we are going to realize that this will cancel out because minus mx plus ms is going to give you 0. Okay, because they're just going to cancel out. Is that okay? Now, if you do this, we would realize that we have p raised to power 3 over 2 plus ms is equal to rk over q. So we can further eliminate q from the right hand side. And how do we do that? It is just to cross multiply or multiply both sides by q. If you do that, we have this to be multiplied by q and multiplied by q, and then this of course is going to cancel out. We are going to have this to cancel this, and the left hand side remains p raised to power 3 over 2 plus ms multiplied by q is going to be equal to rk. Going to be equal to rk. Therefore, I can joyfully eliminate whatever is disturbing q on the left hand side, so that I will just have q alone, standing alone. And if you do it, you realize that if I divide through by p raised to power 3 over 2 plus ms, q will be left standing alone. So divided by p raised to power 3 over 2 plus ms, okay, divided by p raised to power 3 over 2 plus ms, and I am going to just cancel this out. Okay, so q will be equal to, let's go to the next slide because we don't have enough space again. So q is equal to rk, okay, this is equal to rk all over p raised to power 3 over 2 plus ms. We have made q the subject of the formula. We've successfully made q the subject of the formula, and that is our first focus. So this is a for the first part. Okay, 2ai. So 2ai, we have made q the subject of the formula. Now we are told that we should find the value of q when p is equal to 3, m is 15, s is 0.2, and k is 4, then r is 10. So if you insert all these parameters, we have find q when r is equal to 10. Okay, we have k to be equal to 4. We're given p is equal to 3, m is equal to 15, and then s is 0.2. So substituting these parameters inside this equation we have from question 2ai, we have q to be equal to 10 times 4 all over p, which is 3 raised to the power of 3 over 2, plus m, which is 15 times 0.2. This would then give us 40 all over the square root of 3 raised to the power of 3, okay, plus 15. 0.2 is same thing as saying 2 over 10. Is that okay? So we can just say times 2 over 10. The reason is so that we'll be able to simplify the expression to the barest minimum. Okay? And remember, you are not just meant to be punching your calculator. The time you spend to punch your calculator actually counts. So you try as much as possible to reduce your expression to the lowest term before you can just punch your calculator. It will be easier that way. Is that okay? Now, if we slash this, 5 goes here 2, 5 goes here 3. Okay, 2 goes here 1, 2 goes here 1, and then we are left with 40. Q is equal to 40 all over the square root of 3 raised to power 3 is equal to 1 point, okay, is equal to, we have 5.19615242271 plus, then this is 3. Now someone will be wondering, why do I have to write all this out? Yes, I have to, because I would have to I was asked to simplify to the 2 decimal places. Okay, so each decimal counts. Is that okay? So I'd have to take the pain to write everything out and then compute further. So this will give us Q is equal to 40 all over 8.19615242271. Then Q approximately is equal to okay, let's just write it out first. 4.8033871713, and then since we're asked to correct to 2 decimal places, yes, 2 decimal places, of course, this is equivalent to 4.88 to 2 decimal places. On a normal day, this shouldn't take me up to 5 minutes. No, it shouldn't, because I have to explain it. That's why I'm taking this longer time. So it shouldn't take you up to 5 minutes before you be able to solve this and get your correct answer. Now we have been able to solve 2AI and II. We also have another question, which is 2B. 2B is given that x plus 2y all over 5x plus 2y is equal to x minus 2y. We asked to find the value of x ratio y. X ratio y. Now to solve this, we just have to bring this out. We have 2b. We're given x plus 2y all over 5 all over okay, all over 5. I think the correct question is x plus 2y all over 5, which is equal to, okay, let's solve using this question. Okay, now the exact question is x plus 2y all over 5, which is equal to x minus 2y. X minus 2y. Okay. Yeah, let's just second. Okay. All right. Yeah. This is the question. Okay, we're required to find x ratio y. To do this, we just have to, this is equal to x minus 2y. Okay, if we cross multiply, we would have x plus 2y is equal to 5 into x minus 2y. Okay, now x plus 2y is equal to 5x minus 10y. Okay, so this is going to give us, if we decide to collect the like times, we have x minus 5x is equal to minus 10y, then minus 2y, because this is minus 4x is equal to minus 12y. Now remember, we are asked to find x ratio y. That is our question, to find x ratio y. So we can restate this equation over here to be x over y is equal to minus 12 all over minus 4. Someone just asked me how. If we cross multiply, we are going to have minus 4x, which is equal to minus 12y. It's the same thing as what we have over here. Is that okay? So we just have to separate the variables and then have this. Okay, so let me just take this off. And if we divide through, this will cancel this, and this goes there 1, this goes there 3. So we have, this is 3 over 1. In terms of ratio, x ratio y is going to give us 3 ratio 1, and that is our required answer, because we are asked to find the ratio of x to y. Okay, so x ratio y is equal to 3 ratio 1. This is for section A, question 2, and I promised that I'm going to give you 2 questions. Now this is the question here. This is section A, question 5. A die was rolled a number of times. The outcomes are as shown in the table. We have number 1, the probability of number 1 coming out 32. Okay, the outcomes 32. 2 gave us m, 3 gave us 25, 4 gave us 40, 5 gave us 25, and then 6 gave us 45. Okay, we're told that the probability of obtaining 2 is 0.15. Find the value of m, that is the first task, to find the value of m, and the second task is to find the number of times the die was rolled. Okay, that's the number of possible outcomes, and then the probability of obtaining an even number. This is a very simple question, and it is a question under probability. Okay, they've already given us the probability of obtaining a 2, which is 0.15. But remember that probability formula states that we have the number of required outcomes all over the number of possible outcomes. Okay, the number of possible outcomes. Now we were asked to zoom down to probability of 2 because we have to obtain the value of m. Is that okay? Now we're given a probability of 2, which is equal to 0.15. All right, so if we zoom on probability of 2, the number of required outcome is going to give us m. Okay, so the number of required outcomes is equal to m from the question. Cut it over here. We have m. Okay, now to solve for the value of m, we just have to say the probability of m, which is 0.15, which is equal to the number of required outcome m all over the number of possible outcome is obtained by adding 32 to m to 25 to 40 to 28 and then to 45. Is that okay? So if you do this, we would have this to be 32 plus m plus 25 plus 40, then plus 28 plus 45 plus 28 plus 45. So 0.15 is going to give us m all over m plus 170. 32 plus 25 plus 40 plus 28 plus 45 is going to give us a total of 170. Okay, now we can cross multiply so that we'll be able to separate m and then look for the value of m. So to do this, if we cross multiply, we'll have this to be equal to m. Okay, m is equal to 0.15 multiplied by m plus 170. Okay, so m is equal to 0.15 m plus 0.15 times 170 is going to give us a total of 25.5. Of course, we can make m to be on one side. That is, we'll just take this value to this other side. So this gives us m minus 0.15 m equals 25.5. Now there is an invincible one here. So 1m minus 0.15 m is going to give us 0.85 m, which is equal to 25.5. And then m will be equal to 25.5 all over 0.85. This gives us a total of 30. So m here is going to be equal to 30. So we can substitute this value and say m is equal to 30. All right, m is equal to 30. So this is complete. This is complete. And then we have the value of m, which is the first one. And the second case is to find the number of times the die was rolled. That is the total number of outcomes. Is that okay? And this is gotten by just adding everything together. So we have b. Okay, b is going to give us the total outcomes will be equal to 32 plus 30 plus 25 plus 40 plus 25 plus 28 rather. I think this is 28 here. 28 plus 45. Okay, this is for 1. This is 1, this is 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. Okay, if we add everything together, it's going to give us a total of 200 times. So the die was rolled 200 times. Okay, the die was rolled 200 times, and that is the value of m. Is that okay? Now, and that is for the question 5b. Is that okay? Question 5b. Now, what is the probability of obtaining an even number? You're going to go over to the table and take note of the even numbers. Take note of the even numbers. This is still 30. Okay. Now, this is an even number. Okay. This is an even number, and this is also an even number. So we are going to sum everything together. Remember, probability formula still remains that let me just solve it here. C, probability of SAN is equal to the number of required outcomes all over the numbers of possible outcomes. Okay, now the number of required outcomes will give us the total of the probability of an even number appearing, which is actually from the table 30 plus 40 plus 45. Okay, 30 plus 40 plus 45, because they are the outcomes for the even numbers. If we're asked for the odd numbers, of course, we are going to focus on these. Okay, this, and this. But since we're asked for the even numbers, we're going to add 30 plus 40 plus 45. Okay, so the probability of even numbers, okay, let me just, okay, the number of required outcomes is going to give us 30 plus 40 plus 45 all over the total possible outcomes, which is 200. Okay, if you add this thing together, it's going to give us the probability of even is equal to 115 all over 200. And then if you divide through, this is going to give us 23 all over 40 as the final answer. 23 all over 40. Now the probability of even is of course 23 all over 40, and that is our final answer for the third section. So just based on what I've discussed in the first part of this episode, I told you how you can focus on some key areas, and you realize that everything I said actually came out in this modeled exam. It is not magic. It is as a result of observation and statistics made. Is that okay? So if you follow this model and probably use it for all other science subjects or all your subjects in general, you realize that you're going to smash good grades. It's not too late. It's never too late for you to start. Okay, you can still start using this model, and I guarantee you success if you follow this model judiciously. The people that actually came up with this plan, the AWOCO, okay, we are AWOCO, and then you can reach out to us via our website, which is www.awoco.ng. That is our platform, okay, www.awoco.ng, and there you can be a part of this amazing experience. Is that okay? Now, if you have questions, in case you have worries, you can always reach out to us via that platform that I just gave out, which is www.awoco.ng. Your success is our priority, and we are ready to hold your hands through this success journey.